Hello, class. Today we are going to be learning about, see if I can get this to work. We're going to be learning about some special cases with factoring. So there's going to be 3 different special cases that we're going to learn about. Before we learn about those special cases, we are going to go over the steps that we learned last time for factoring. So step 1 was find GCF if there are, and if they aren't, just go to step 2. Step 2 is we're adding a step from last time, and that's check for special cases, which we will learn about today. Step 3, factor. Step 4, go back and check your answer. Okay, so those are going to be the steps we want to use. So now let's look at the 3 types of special cases. So our first type of special case is going to look like a squared minus b squared. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like before you factor it. And if it looks like this, it's going to factor to a plus b times a minus b. You can also put it in the other order of a minus b times a plus b. Does not matter which order you put it in. Okay, our second special case is going to be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So that's what it's going to look like. You'll see a little bit more when we get into our examples. It'll be a little bit easier to understand. I'm just going to give you these rules first. So when you factor this one, it's going to look like a plus b squared. Okay. Our last one is going to look like a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. And when you factor this one, it's going to be a minus b squared. Okay, so those are going to be our 3 types of special cases. We're going to look at a few examples of each one today. So let's go and look at those. Example 1. So here is our first example. So this one's fairly easy. You can see the only one it looks like is our first special case. So this one looks like a squared minus b squared. So we want to write it like that. So to write it like a squared minus b squared, we need to write the coefficient. We need to take the square root of the coefficient. So square root of 64 is going to be 8. And then we have x squared. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to take the square root. So we got minus 5 squared. So in this case, our a is 8x and our b is 5. Now that we know what a and b are, we can write it factored out. So we're going to have 8x plus 5 times 8x minus 5. And remember, you can write this the other way around if you want. You can have 8x minus 5 before. Does not matter which order they come in. Okay, now we get to our last step where we want to check our answer. So we're going to FOIL it. So foiling, we're going to get 64x squared minus 40x plus 40x minus 25. Negative 40x plus 40x is 0, so those are going to cancel. That leaves us with 64x squared minus 25, which is what we started with, so that is going to be our correct answer here. And I know in the last couple of videos I forgot to tell you guys how to type these into Google Forms, so I'm going to do that now. It's going to be the same thing that we've done before. So this is just going to be, you're typing it almost exactly like you see it here, just no spaces. So you're going to do a parenthesis 8x plus 5, parenthesis, another parenthesis 8x minus 5. So exactly as you see it, no spaces, okay? This isn't going to look any different than anything else we've had. Okay, let's look at our next example. So again, you can see this looks like our first special case of a squared minus b squared. So we want to make sure that it's in that form. So we're going to take the square root of 9, which is 3. Then we got b and all of that squared. Minus 4 is the same as 2 squared. So a equals 3b and b equals 2. So our final answer is going to be 3b plus 2 times 3b minus 2. Remember to type them to Google Forms, no spaces. I did see a lot of spaces in the last two assignments. There's not going to be any spaces when you type in any answers into Google Forms. Okay, now we're going to go back and check our answer. We're going to FOIL it. 3b times 3b is 9b squared. We do our outsides, negative 2 times 3b is negative 6b. 2 times 3b is 6b. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 6b plus 6b is 0, so those cancel, and we get 9b squared minus 4. And that works. So that's our correct answer. There we go. The first special case is easier than the other ones. So let's skipped an example. Okay, here we go. We got another one of the first special case. So it looks like a squared minus b squared. So our first part is already written correctly. So we just got to do the second part, change it to 4 squared. So a equals b, b equals 4. So our final answer is going to be b plus 4, b minus 4. Now all we got to do is go back and FOIL to check our answer. So we're going to get b squared minus 4b plus 4b minus 16. So those are going to cancel, and we get b squared minus 16, which is what we started with. So that's good. Let's look at our next example. Again, this looks like our first special case. So a squared minus b squared, but we want to write it so it looks like that. So we got to take the square root of 81, which is 9. So we have 9x squared minus square root of 100 is 10. So a equals 9x, b equals 10. So our final answer is 9x plus 10 times 9x minus 10. Remember, no spaces. Okay, let's go back and FOIL and double check our answer. So we're going to get 81x squared minus 90x plus 90x minus 100. Middle two cancel, and we're left with 81x squared minus 100, which is what we started with. So there we go. So those 4 examples were all over our first special case. So now we're going to go look at our other special cases. So this one looks like the third special case I gave you. It looks like a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. But we want to put it in that form, so we're going to rewrite it. So the first variable is already good. We know that our a is going to be x. So then we got to go to our middle. We have the 2, so we're going to pull out the 2. We know a is x and b is 1. Plus, and then 1 squared is 1. So you can see, parentheses around that, and here. So we got our a here. Got our a again B, and B. So it looks exactly like this form, right? So since we know that A equals X and B equals 1, we can rewrite it, and it's going to look like X minus 1 squared. Okay, to type this into Google Forms, you do parenthesis X minus 1, parenthesis, caret button 2. Okay, no spaces. Remember that, please. Okay, now we got to go back and FOIL to check our answer. I'm going to rewrite it so we have it written twice. So FOILing, we're going to get x squared minus x plus 1. Negative x minus x is the same as negative 2x. We get x squared minus 2x plus 1. And that's what we were looking for. So there we go. So these ones, the second and third special case, take a little bit of rewriting like you saw us do here. Oops. You saw us. Oh my, it's not working. Okay. Like we did there, we got to rewrite it so we can figure out what our A and B are, make sure that we have it correct, and make sure it actually is a special case. Because when we mix in the ones that aren't special cases and the ones that are, you're going to have to double check. Okay, let's look at our next example. So this one again looks like our third special case. So A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. So let's figure out what our A is first. To do so, we're going to take the square root of 16, which is 4. So we have 4x squared. So we know that A equals 4x. Sorry about that. So the middle part, we know there has to be a 2. So we're going to pull out that 2. And that's going to leave us with a 4x and a 1. And then B also equals 1. So B equals 1. So now it does look like this, which is what we wanted. So now that we know what our A and our B are, we can go back and rewrite it as 4x minus 1 squared. Remember to write this in Google Forms. You're just going to do it like that, no spaces. Okay. Now we're going to go do our last step, go back and double check our answer with FOIL. So 4x squared times 4x squared is going to be 16x squared. 4x times negative 1 is negative 4x. Negative 1 times 4x is a negative 4x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is just a positive 1. Negative 4x minus 4x is going to be a negative 8x. So we get 16x squared minus 8x plus 1, which is what we started with. So we are good. Okay, let's look at our next example. So this one has a plus here. So we know that it's going to look like our second special case. A squared plus 2AB plus B squared. Okay, so now we got to take the square root of 25. It's going to give us 5B squared. So then we know that our A is going to be 5B. Now we're going to have to rewrite this end part, but let's find our B first. So our B is going to be the square root of 16, which is 4. So B equals 4. So this middle part is going to have to be plus 2, 5V times 4. Oops, I'm putting all of our parentheses. So 2 times 5V times 4 does equal 40V. So we are good with rewriting. Now that we've rewritten it, we have our A and our B. We can factor. So we're going to have 5V plus 4 squared. Google Forms, this is going to look like 5V plus 4 parentheses, caret 2. Now we're going to go back and check our answer with FOIL. We're going to get 25V squared plus 20V plus 20V plus 16. We can add these middle two terms. We're going to get 25v squared plus 40v plus 16, which is what we started with, so we are good. Okay, let's look at our last example. So our last example, again, we have a plus sign here. So this is going to be our second special case. So a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. It's got to take the square root of 9. Is going to be 3p squared. Square root of 16 is 4, so we got plus 4 squared. So a equals 3p, b equals 4. Now we got to rewrite the middle, make sure it multiplies to equal 24p. So we'd have 2 times 3p times 4. So 2 times 3p is 6p, times 4 is 24p. So we are good with our rewriting. So then we can factor, and we're going to get a 3p plus 4 squared. For Google Forms, this is going to be parenthesis 3p plus 4 parenthesis caret button 2. Okay, now we're going to FOIL to double check our answer. We're going to get 9p squared plus 12p plus 12p plus 16. So we can combine these two because they're like terms, and we're going to get 9p squared plus 24p plus 16. And that's what we started with, so we're all good. So that is the end of the lesson for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out to Mr. Oker and I. We can help you. Do the extra practice, do the quizzes. They really help. I'd really like to see you guys doing well on those assessments, okay? Okay. Have